Today, I'm going to show you how to hand paint textures in Blender like a boss. For this workflow, you'll need Blender, obviously. You'll need the insanely good free add-on Ucupaint, which makes this process super easy. The free auto reload add-on, which makes your painting update in real time in Blender. And finally, you'll need the digital painting software of your choice. And before you ask, you can do this without a tablet. You can, but it's a pain, so if you can manage a tablet, I recommend it. You can also hand paint all of your textures just in Blender with nothing else, but it takes a lot longer and has fewer tools. There are links in the description to download Blender, as well as the blend file with the shield you'll be painting, Krita, and Ucupaint, which is everything you need. Sadly, you can't download a tablet yet. Be advised, there is some setup to get this going, but once you do, it is very much worth it. So download whatever programs, files, or add-ons you need from the links below. Alright, have you got all the bits you need? Then let's go. UV image. Open up the blend file and switch over to the UV editing workspace. The first thing you want to do is create a UV image to use as a guide for your texture painting. Essentially, you're going to export an image from Blender to paint on, and like magic, thanks to the auto reload add-on, your painting will update in Blender whenever you save that image, like this. This will work with any software that can handle Photoshop files, specifically PSDs, which includes Krita, Clip Studio Paint, Affinity Photo, GIMP, and of course Photoshop. I'll be using Clip Studio Paint because that's what I'm used to, and it's Bay. Once you're in the UV editing workspace, navigate to the image selection area in the UV editing window here. Click New, then name the image Shield Prep. You can click and drag both the width and height values to enter them both at once, like this. And set it to 2048 by 2048 or 2K. Under the Generated Type options, select UV Grid, then click New Image to generate the image. Next, navigate to the Material menu, here, and create a new material. Double-click the material to rename it and call it Shield Prep as well. Since you'll be hand painting this shield, you'll be using an image instead of a base color, so you can click on the yellow dot next to the base color and switch it to an image texture. Then, from the drop-down list on the left, choose Shield Prep, which you just created, as your image texture. If you don't immediately see the texture on your shield, make sure you're in Material Preview mode. Next, you need to export this image so you can paint on it. To do that, place your mouse within the UV editing window, and hit A to select all. It's crucial to select all the faces before exporting, because if you don't, your image will be blank, and we will be sad. So hit A to select all, then navigate to the UV menu here, and select Export UV Layout from the list. Name it Shield Painting. Ensure that the resolution is set to 2K, although you can change this on a project-by-project basis, the resolution doesn't necessarily need to match. For this tutorial, 2K is fine. Then set the opacity to 0. Choose the location where you'll save this image, then click Export UV Layout. You'll open this file in your painting software in a minute, but first we need to set up the Auto Reload add-on, which will make our lives so much easier. Go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, click the disclosure triangle in the top right, and select Install from Disk. Navigate to wherever you downloaded the Auto Reload add-on and select it. Then, if you need to, you can type Auto in the search bar at the top to isolate the add-on. Check the box next to its name to enable it. Open the add-on's options by clicking the triangle here. Then down in the Image Editor section, click the folder icon and navigate to the exe file of your painting software. I also turn on Launch Image Reload Timer on startup because I get mad if I forget about it. This might seem like a lot of setup, but not needing to manually refresh the texture after every single change is a lifesaver. Save your preferences and then close out of the Edit menu. Save your Blender file and then restart Blender to be sure that the changes take effect. Now it's time to open up your digital painting software. Linking to Blender. Once you're in your painting software, open the shield painting image that you just exported from Blender. Once it's open, rename the current layer to Guide, then create a new layer and move it under the Guide layer. Fill the bottom layer with a color of your choice just so we can see it in Blender. Then shut off the visibility of the guide layer. Now, critically, you need to save this file as a PSD because that's how the magic works. Depending on the program, you may see Photoshop document or PSD in the Save As options. Whatever you see, just make sure that the file is saved as a PSD. Once it's saved as a PSD, navigate back to Blender, then in the Materials panel where your current image texture is listed, click the folder icon to open a file from disk. Navigate to the location of the shield painting PSD that you just saved and select it. Now you can see the color from your painting software. Let's head back to our painting software for a minute and turn the guide layer back on. I know from unwrapping this model that the bottom circle here is the front of the shield, so I'll create a new layer and just paint a little smiley face on it. Then, while still in my painting software, I'll hit Ctrl S to save, and blimey if it doesn't update in Blender just like magic. If for some reason the auto reload add-on isn't working for you, head over to the Texture Paint workspace, hover over the image, and press Alt-R to reload it manually. I know we've covered a lot of ground already, so you're doing great. At this point, you could just paint your entire texture this way. There's nothing wrong with that. But we can use the add-on Ucupaint to get some amazing tools and tricks for free, so let's do that. Ucupaint. I'm going to assume that by now you know how to install an add-on. If you don't, well, it's exactly the same process as what we did with auto reload. Let's head back to the Layout tab. Using this workflow, I prefer to stay in the Layout tab because I can already see my UVs in my painting software. This process is obviously easier if you have two monitors. If you want to see your work in real time with only one monitor, then click the top bar of your digital painting application and drag it to one side of your screen until you see this dividing line. Then either select Blender from the list of windows or drag Blender's top bar to the opposite side. Now you can work in both programs at once on a single screen. So with Ucupaint installed, open the N panel by hitting N on your keyboard, then navigate to your Ucupaint panel. Click Quick Ucupaint Node Setup, and select Emission from the drop-down options. You want an emission setup because you'll be painting in your lighting rather than using any Blender-based rendering. Next, open the color channel options here and enable Alpha. This will let us use Ucupaint for some procedural textures like edge wear, which we'll cover a little later. And by the way, I am cooking up a different tutorial for creating stylized PBR assets with Ucupaint if that's more your thing. Which brings me to the sponsor of this video, me. It's me, my Patreon. Yeah, listen, your support makes all the difference and makes these tutorials possible. A lot of time, energy, and research goes into making these tutorials, and with your help, I can make them even better. Also, my patrons get access to tons of stuff. Your support gets you my blend files, so you can see how I've done things. That includes the finished shield from this video, by the way. All of the assets I make, and member-only content like time-lapses, real-time footage of video time-lapses, artist interviews, behind the scenes, and more. So if you like my content and you have the means, support me on Patreon, so that together we can make even better stuff. And thank you to all of my patrons, every single one of you. Also like and subscribe. The first thing we want to do in Ucupaint is create a new layer, so click the plus button in the new layer menu. Then, since we want to open our PSD file, select Open Image. This will let us import an image from anywhere on our computer. Navigate to where you saved your PSD and select it and open it. One of the things Ucupaint can do for us is create edge wear.
I thought you said this was a painting tutorial.
It is, and you will be painting edges by hand, but getting a map of where the edges are is super useful, and this is a way to do that. Create a new solid color layer and make it your desired edge color. Then rename it Edges. Next, go to the Add Mask button here and select Edge Detect. Now, if you're happy with how it looks, you can leave it exactly as it is, but if you want to tweak it in Blender, you can't. You get a missing texture warning. There's an easy workaround though. You just need to export the Edge Detect layer. To do that, shut off the shield painting layer in Ucupaint so that only the edges layer is visible. It will look like nothing is there, but it is in fact there. Now, go to the Channel Special menu, here, and select a Big Color Channel. Set the width and height to 2048 by 2048, samples to 4, and AA level to 2, and choose either your CPU or GPU for the bake. I'll go with GPU. Then select OK and wait for it to bake. Once the bake is done, it'll be visible, but now our layer stack is gone. Well, it's not gone, it's hidden, and before we retrieve it, we want to export this edges layer to use in our painting software. To do that, go to the Baked Image menu here, and select Save All Baked Images to. Take note of the file name you're exporting because we're going to import it into our painting software shortly. Then save the image in the same location as your PSD file. Head back to your painting software and import the edges file. Make sure to rasterize it so that you can edit it, then save your file. Now you can edit the edges to your heart's content. Head back to Blender, then in the Baked Images menu, select Delete All Baked Images. You can delete it because it's now in our PSD file. When you delete the baked images, you'll notice that your layer stack comes back. I should be clear that it's not necessary to delete the baked images in order to get your layer stack back. You can simply toggle the Use Baked button here. But since we're moving the edge data to our painting program, we don't need the image taking up space in our blend file, so we can delete it. Next, turn off the visibility of your edges layer, but don't delete it. You might want to use it again later. And turn your shield painting layer back on. It's faint, but your edges layer is there. You can strengthen the effect by duplicating the layer in your painting software and then merging those copies, like this. This is just one of the ways that you can leverage Ucupaint to help you achieve your results faster. And there's one more classic stylized trick that we'll use Ucupaint to achieve after the painting is done. But that's the end of the hard part. All of the technical stuff is done. Yay! Now it's time to paint! And now that you know how to set Blender up for hand painting, I'm gonna time-lapse the painting because, frankly, it takes a minute. But don't worry, if there's any critical information, I'll stop and I'll explain it. Also, the real-time footage will be on the Patreon. I am also putting together a course on creating hand-painted assets in Blender from concept to game engine, so stay tuned for that. Alright, time-lapse incoming in 3, 2, 1. So normally as a 3D artist, you're going to be working from direct reference, some concept art that somebody has drawn or your own creation. In my case, I'm not working from direct reference, I'm working from reference, but there isn't a shield in particular that I'm looking at. So you're going to see me playing around, tossing down shapes, and just seeing what works. One of the themes you're going to see throughout is I'm constantly trying to pay attention to big, medium, small, and break up the shapes to make them look interesting, while also keeping in mind where the light is. And many times you'll see me make marks and then completely undo them because I don't like the direction it's going. That just comes with the territory of not working from direct reference. So you'll notice in the top right, I have a zoomed out view of the same canvas, just so I can see if it's reading as metal. Because when you get in super close and you're painting like I am right now, it's really hard to tell what it looks like from afar. So having a thumbnail or another canvas zoomed out helps a lot. So one of the things I'm learning as I'm painting more and more, especially in a stylized way, is that tiny changes in value can communicate a huge amount. Like here, there's a jump to almost pure white and it's way too much. So you'll see I dial that back as I go. I'm gonna start working on the wood now. I will jump back and forth between the wood and the metal several times just to try and keep my brain fresh as we're moving around. It's adding some color variation. The metal's interesting that way because you can get away with all kinds of colors on it. So here you see me test something out, the knot, and then I decide I don't like it, so I'll get rid of it and just try something else. It's totally fine. Once again, I'm still thinking of big, medium, small here, trying to figure out how I'm going to break up these wood panels in a way that looks alright. And like most works of art, it's going to look like absolute garbage for 80 or 90% of it, and then at the very end it'll all come together. Right here is an example of why I like using external digital painting software, because getting this kind of selection in Blender is not. It's just not good. It's an incredibly powerful tool that is missing from the toolset in Blender. I decided the metal was too blue, so I desaturated it quite a bit to a more neutral gray. It's still it's got lots of color in it, but it was largely blue and I wanted it to be less saturated. I struggled with this part because there's a lot of divisions in the metal, like chunks where it would be bent or a different plane, and doing that many shapes in a row with big, medium, small is tricky. I'm not sure I pulled it off the best, but I gave it a good shot. Every single time I do a stylized piece, I figure out something new about how to accomplish an effect or a faster way of doing something. I figured it could use a big chunk of wood missing, so I'm painting that in now. Needed a highlight at the top. Here, I'll test this out, find out I don't like the way it looks and the overall shape, and then I will back off that little cut I put in there. Yep, I decided I did not like it. I'm going to test thickening out the top also and decide I don't like that. And now I'm just going around and fine-tuning things, adjusting values, that kind of stuff. Paint a little highlight in the wood where the sun's coming from, or the light is coming from, rather, just to brighten it up a bit. And then I'm darkening down the opposite side. I didn't put a handle on this shield, but I did paint in a sort of spot where a handle would go. Maybe in a future tutorial I'll actually put a handle on. I really like doing shields because they have a kind of an infinite variety of shape design that you can use. And I fiddled around with this background color for a long time before I decide that I'll just copy over and flip the wood. Thought about maybe doing fabric, but figured nah, I'll just copy the wood over. There I go. Just multiply it, turn it way down, adding some ambient occlusion here. And then I'm going to paint in some crossbars in a second as well. Some edge damage. There we go, we're back in Blender. Now let's add a gradient to this shield to add some more lighting and color variation. Go to Ucupaint and select the Add New Layer button, then select New Image, name it to Gradient, and set it to 2048 by 2048, then click OK. Now switch Blender into texture painting mode and select the fill tool on the left. In the tool options on the right, select Gradient, then choose a dark color, a midtone, and a highlight by selecting these stops and choosing the color from this color picker. You can add or remove stops by using the plus and minus buttons, and you can move the stops to adjust the fall off of the gradient. You can also change the interpolation here. I've chosen a purple, a sort of pink, and a yellow for my gradient. When you click and drag on your object to place the gradient, it's the leftmost color that starts where you click. Since I want to simulate lighting, I'll drag up from the bottom of my shield. You can see the gradient has totally covered my object, so I'll switch the blend mode to overlay, and lower the opacity until it looks right. There we go. And now for another reason why Ucupaint is awesome. Ucupaint automatically packs and saves your images, so you don't need to save each one manually, which you normally would have to do with vanilla Blender. This prevents you from losing work and also makes baking super straightforward. Let's bake our hand-painted textures so we can apply it to a new object, then export it into a game engine. To do that, head to the Ucupaint special menu, here, then select Bake Color Channel. This will bake the color channels from all of your layers into a single image. Set the resolution to 2048 by 2048, samples to 32, and AA level to 2. Then choose either CPU or GPU. Once the bake is complete, go to the Baked Image menu and choose Save All Baked Images to. Then create a new folder for your baked texture. Once it's saved, select the original shield and hit Shift-D to duplicate it and move it to the right. With this new shield selected, go to the Materials tab and remove the shield prep material. Create a new material and call it Stylized Shield. Next, head to the Shading workspace and delete the principled BSDF. Remember that we want an emission shader since we painted in our own light and don't want it to be affected by Blender's lights. So hit Shift-A, click Search, type in emission, and select Emission Shader. Then connect the emission output to the surface connection in the Material Output node. Next, click on the emission shader. If you don't have Node Wrangler enabled, you should. It's an add-on that makes working with nodes super simple. It ships with Blender by default, so just search it and enable it in your add-ons. Then, with Node Wrangler enabled, click on the emission shader and hit Ctrl-T to automatically set up image texture and coordinate nodes. Then click the folder icon on the image texture and navigate to where you saved your baked texture. It will likely be called Shield Prep Color. Select it and open the image. Ta-da! Your shield is now ready to be exported to a game engine. Let's head back to the Layout workspace. When exporting assets for game engines, the asset's location relative to the world origin is important, so I'm going to move my original shield over, then move my baked shield to the world origin by selecting it and hitting Shift-S, then choosing either 3D cursor or world origin. Since my 3D cursor is at the world origin, that's what I chose. Once your shield is at the world origin, select it, then navigate to File, Export, and choose GLTF 2.0 from the list. GLTF files contain all the material information you need, so it's a nice and easy format. Open the Include options and check Selected Objects, then choose where you want to export your shield. I recommend renaming the asset here. And there we go, now it's ready to be imported into an engine. I'll hop into Unreal Engine and show you. Okay, I'm in Unreal Engine. I'll create a new folder and give it a name. Then right-click inside the folder and choose Import To at the top. I'll find where I saved my shield asset and open it. All of the default settings here are fine, so I'll just click Import. I'll select my shield and drop it into the world, and boom! The shield is in Engine, ready to go. If this tutorial helped you out, consider supporting me on Patreon to get bonus content and so that I can make more tutorials. I hope you're excited to get hand painting, and I'll be back soon with another tutorial on creating stylized PBR assets with Ucupaint, so stay tuned for that. Alright everyone, I'll see you later. Deuces.